Martha Blessing, and I want to share with you a case story today. It's about healing digestion. It's about an energetic and a spiritual approach to healing digestion. So if you're new to my channel, you're new to my work, I help people heal when nothing else has worked. And that seems like a really big claim and statement, but it's the truth. And I've been doing this work for 20, 25, 30 years, right? In different iterations. Um, it came out of the fact that I reversed so many illnesses in my life. And so I've used everything that I've done and learned to reverse 10 years of daily chronic pain, reverse a rare incurable cancer, reversed hypothyroid, got off the meds. You can go to my website at marthablessing.com, read my story, read my book. But I'm here today to share with you if you're someone who has feels like they've tried everything and you think that you can't heal, you can. So I want to give you just one of the many, many, many case studies and how I worked with a gentleman, how I'm working with a gentleman actually now, why this work is different from what most healers or people are offering, and why it works. Because we are at a critical, pivotal point where healing is possible in a way that never seemed like it was before. I work as a medical intuitive, not really medical intuitive, medical medium, okay, is the best way that I could say to you. So I'm a multidimensional channel. I see, hear, feel all the energies in multiple dimensions of this life, past lives, you name it, I see it all. I get messages from a person's subconscious telepathically as to why they're holding an illness. So the very first step that people do when they come to work with me is we get to the core cause. We unlock that missing piece, because if you had been treating the core cause, you would have healed already. And so many people, it's so frustrating. It's just part of our old paradigm and our belief system, especially with digestion, like with this gentleman. His email when he reached out to me was, I've had this most of my life. Okay, he's getting ready to retire. That's a long time to have digestive issues. And unfortunately, to believe that this is just how it has to be. He has a knowing inside, right? Like he has a knowing. He's still looking, he's still searching. There's a belief like something about this isn't right. I know I can heal this. And turns out, right? Like he does qigong. He knows he's a healer, right? He's an empath. He's sensitive. And he's in tune to all of these things, and yet he's stuck. Why is he stuck? So the very first thing, as soon as people will engage with me, I will start getting information and messages. And I formally sit, I mean, literally, I can't stop the downloads if I want to, but I formally sit and I get all of the information. I channel all of the information. I have a couple of different kinds of channeling that I do. Sometimes it's my guides through Grayson. Sometimes it's Arcturian guides, Bukta, and that's light codes and energy. But I will always get the information that's necessary. The very first, when I tuned into him, the very first message I got was, I was just a boy. It was like his little child, little boy self that was wounded, that was hurt, that is now still feeling and experiencing the grief from childhood. Think about this, 40 some years of carrying this. That's a long, long time to be holding and living as the frequency of grief. When we peel back those layers, what's under there? Shame and guilt. But it's manifesting. Here's how it all works when we use spiritual prescriptions to heal, because that's what we are. We are spiritual beings. We are spiritual, energetic beings. So when all the other stuff doesn't work, the pills, the bills, the surgery, thank God he hasn't gone for, colon or digestive surgeries and stuff and gone that route. The work that he's doing as a healer is probably what's prevented that. So I see the energy of this little boy, and he's like, I was just a kid. I was just a boy. And he's literally standing there just like wanting to be held and wanting to be loved. And the grief and the sadness and the moment, when I get on the call with the client, like the moment I get that, literally it's activated and he's acknowledging it and the energy is welling up in him, right? It's like, oh, he sees me. The little boy is going, oh, finally somebody sees me and acknowledges me. Like that's one of the first steps, right? Is to be seen, to be felt, to be heard. Like I get emotional just replaying it for you, talking about it, right? That's how deep the emotion is in him. So the next messages were too much pressure on me, right? It's almost like this, when I'm doing the work, it's like this quick kind of flash through parallel worlds. And so they're telling me too much pressure on me, too much pressure on me. And that's how he felt. Uh, Always trying to overcompensate for the chaos that was in his life. So of course I get on the call with him and I said, okay, my job is to correlate the information that I've gotten with you and your life. And so now you know what the core cause is. And then our work is to do the reprogramming, which is not hard. It's a very simple process. You just have to be consistent because he's held this pattern for decades. So it's not about this magic fix of, oh, Martha's going to do some, smooth out all my edges and pull this stuff out of me. No, that's not how true healing works. It's not how my healing works. But my healing is also very, very effective when nobody else has been able to get at this, right? I teach him and give him the tools for the reprogramming. And he does that on his end. At the same time, what my healing work is that I am the channel for these light patterns, these light grids, these light codes of who we truly really are. Okay, so what's happened if you have ever listened to Dolores Cannon, if you haven't, you should. The three waves of volunteers in the new earth, right? So my generation was in the first wave, and this was pre-internet, right? So we didn't have access to everything that we do now. And we got really heavily bogged down in the shame, in the indoctrination, in religion, and schools, and performance, and be good girl, and everything was swept under the carpet. But there is that core wound, there's a guilt, and there's shame, right? And so he made the agreements, he made the pattern in order to get love, to agree to this shame and this guilt and the chaos of trying to, like, he became the adult instead trying to get love and safety and security and approval from his parents, but there was chaos in his environment. So I said to him, what was going on between your mom and your dad, right? Because you felt unsafe and you tried to control the dynamic, right? And who were you trying to protect? So that's where the dynamic was created. Now he held it all this time. There's grief in here, block. As soon as I mentioned that to him, it literally like lit up and activated, right? So now he's aware of it. He can release that. My work is that I see your divine pattern. I know and see and feel your divine pattern. And God, source, whatever you want to call it, you have that blueprint. It's already there. It's already you. It truly is your DNA. What's gotten in the way, like medicine talks about the DNA and stuff. No, what's gotten in the way is the shame and the guilt. It's literally been there for so long that it's transmuted and transformed your cells to be the shame. That's the frequency. And if you read Power versus Force, David Hawkins, same thing. He's like the lowest frequency and vibration there is shame. It's like the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. I truly believe it creates all illness. How do we get out of that? He's reprogramming. It just takes this consistent, I call it constant space repetition. He's just doing this consistent programming that is not that story, not that tape, not that identity in here, high heart, subconscious. At the same time, I'm activating his true pattern, his true light codes. Now, how long does it take? Well, look, he's held that pattern for decades. When I do the activation, some people do 3 sessions, 6 sessions, doesn't matter, like it's not like they didn't work. We have to change our beliefs and our mindset. It's not that they didn't work. It's just that they've been planted. The seed has been planted, but now it's got to be watered. Okay. You don't just put a seed in the ground and poof, the next day, the apples tree is growing and the apples are falling and the fruit is bearing. No, you've got to water it. It's got to have the right conditions. So it's not that it's not possible for you. So many people, it breaks my heart. So many people are in doubt and fear, and they hold back and they feel like they can't have healing. They're not willing to invest in themselves anymore, right? Because by the time they get to me, they're like, I've spent so much money and so much time, and I don't want to spend any more. Like they really are in doubt, right? And it's heartbreaking because they're stuck in this old paradigm, but nobody's gotten to this stuff. Or they've gone to therapy and they've just kept ruminating about the problem, but they're not allowing the codes of activation of the light of the truth of who they really are. No one's giving them that at the same time that they're in the release and the letting go of it. So the grief is here. So part of that energetically is, right, solar plexus is self-worth, self-esteem. It's also the seat of where we hold the shame. So he's holding the grief. It's heavy. He has a hard time releasing it and letting it go. And admittedly, he said, like I told him, he needed to do the love meditation. Love meditation is on my website. It's where I first started on my journey out of 10 years of daily chronic pain. It was channeled to me by my grandmother, who was on the other side. And when I started practicing the love meditation, it opened all of this up and allowed me to love myself, be in that state of love being. And it opened and I allowed it and learned how to move it through my body and my cells. And he said, yeah, I have a hard time with that, right? So it's the resistance. That pattern is kind of stuck in there deep. Doesn't mean, again, that it's not possible. It just means that there's a pattern in there that you haven't completely dissolved, but you can dissolve it. And you just have to stay consistent. So when this opens, when this grief and it can open and you can allow the love and the frequency of the love to start to percolate in here, right? Now the energy can get down and it can get through to the solar plexus of self-worth and self-esteem. And then you start to dissolve the energy because there's no container here, right? All his digestive issues, it's like a bowling ball shot through his, that's what I see energetically, shot through his solar plexus, right? There's no container of energy for self-worth and self-esteem right here. Once that energy can move down, can move through, and can start to heal those cells, that's when the digestion heals. Now, get this, please hear me and understand this. There's no amount of broccoli. There's no amount of, diet, nutrition, pills, supplements. People aren't thinking about this. Does it make sense that you would go over and over and over again to all of these functional medicine people and, supplements and diets? He's like, I'm on a superfood. I'm like, was it helping? No. Things will, people are like, oh, well, it only did for a little while. This is why. This is why. Without addressing these core issues and knowing what they are, you are the frequency of these patterns that cause the illness. We can't fix them with the same mind that created them. So this is where we are. He's not only healing for him, he's healing it for several generations because he got this from his mom and dad. Now, here's an interesting thing. They are now, he's getting ready to retire. He has goals and dreams, but they are living with him now, both parents, both alive, both still living. And, part of what he said to me was never enough. Like with my dad, nothing I did was ever enough. I was never good enough. Again, correlates perfectly energetically with solar plexus, self-worth, self-esteem. He's been holding this his whole life. This is not what he came here to do. The bullshit that he, believed in from his parents, he didn't have any choice when he was a kid. He was dependent on them. So he took all of this on, but it's different now. He's an adult. We aren't always in a situation, although again, I never tell anybody, right? I don't practice medicine. I don't have a license to practice medicine, but I do have many certifications and skills and gifts and have already healed so many things myself. I can tell you how to do that. Whether or not you choose to do it, I'm not going to tell him how to live his life. He's going to have to choose what he does and doesn't tolerate from his parents, and they're living in his house, right? That's boundaries. That goes down to the second, to the sacral. And so, but the first is this has to open, the heart has to open, the solar plexus has to become a container. But he's also got to set the boundaries because that's where self-love is, on what you will and you won't tolerate. So I'm not saying, oh, well, kick your parents out of your house and don't take care of them and whatever else, but you have got to do it in a way that feels empowered to you and you're not still feeling the guilt and the shame. They're still in that energy. They're still being that energy. So he's exposed to it. And they created that dynamic. He's healing, but the parents never did. So they're still putting, and I know this really well because this went on in my life. If you're new to my channel or new to my work, I've talked about it many, many times. I talk about it in my book. Literally, it was like I was dipped in shame every single day of my adult life and in the situation in the relationship with my mother. So I get it. Like you do have to maneuver the real 3D stuff. His healing will be like it's on steroids and it will be quicker, knowing now what the true cause is, and that it's not about the food, the diet. Digestion is a metaphor for life. So literally, he's taking in, thoughts, emotions, feelings, circumstances, situations, and he swallowed them, chewed them up. You're supposed to absorb and assimilate and let go. He's never let go. He's never assimilated because it's stuck here in the grief and in the shame, and he's never assimilated, absorbed, and then said, yeah, bullshit, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not living in this energy and this belief system, and then let it go. That's the dynamic of what has to happen. That's the dynamic of the healing. So I wanted to share this with you because I want you to understand how healing can happen when you have done so many things and it feels like nothing's worked. There's a reason why. And there is a next level, a next step. This is the place that I take my clients to. It's about ownership, true, full ownership of your true healing, getting to the core cause, letting it go, and stepping into the truth and the belief that you are sovereign and your body knows how to be healthy and how to heal. I don't, my work is not about helping you stay where you are. My work is about helping you step into the portal that is a completely new reality for you, your body, your health, your well-being, and your life. If you would like some help with that, please reach out to me. You can go to my website at marthablessing.com. You can type ready in the comments here below the video, but I am happy to serve you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.